Right, it's Thursday. Let's see whether I can manage not to lose the first 3 minutes of this video like I did the Lloydtron one. You never saw me taking it out of the box and saying how I paid $9.95 for it. Now I've bought this specially for today's demonstration. I say today, it's come with an Altai standard replacement microphone. It's come with a Maxcom type of power lead, which luckily that's the housing. We've got the pins so we can refurbish that. And obviously that needs sorting. I've got no problems with an Altai standard microphone at all, that's fine. And what we've got is a Midland 3001, which I've just bought off eBay. I've paid £20 for it, buy it now. Ha 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 ha. Spares replacement. I can see a piece of kitchen roll inside there. Has that got all the works in a piece of kitchen roll? Anyway, I'm sure there's nothing in here that is unsurmountable in me being able to service. The reason I bought this is I wanted to do a case refurb thing, and this is a prime candidate, is it not? We'll start by filling those holes in. I'm going to use body filler, and I take all the wrong screws in it. These are not supposed to be. These are case bezel screws, so they're a useful thing to have. So I'm interested now as to what's inside this. Obviously I'm going to take the case off. I think as a self-tapper we could have done without that in there, but it isn't an important screw anyway, it's for the kind of slide mount thing. So I think we're going to take two, that's a self-tappers, that's wrecked the thing as well. We're going to do this in two parts, I think. That's the right screw, but will my Japanese screwdriver fit better? Yes. I think I don't know whether we're going to do the case separately or not. I'm just intrigued as to looking at the kitchen roll inside to see whether there's any works in this radio at all. I missed that screw, haven't I? Why would someone put that screw in? Anyway, this was advertised in printed circuit boards and spares for television sets, which is probably why I managed to get it at a reasonable price by today's standards. We've got the correct paint information now, thanks to one of our viewers. It is annoying though when it's lost its brackets, if it has. Okay. How bizarre. I wonder if somebody just had this chassis kicking around and managed to catch a case. What's ended up here is they've got the screws for the case here too tight and breaking away the front panel. Well, not even the right screws, they're self-tappers. So the fact we've now got the countersunk ones is great. Yeah, they're all the wrong screws. I think this has been hurriedly put together. So we'll put the front and knobs through the dishwasher. In fact, I think we'll put the case through the dishwasher because it'll then clean some of the muck off for repainting it. So we'll have to edit this together because the video will be different format for the stuff with the camcorder. The camcorder is a different format. Am I going to force this off, or are we going to use string under it? Let's have another go with these strong fingers of mine. Right, I've got the channel knob off, which is nice, and It hasn't lost all its lettering around the skirt there, which is nice. So really the best way to do this is to wrap string round, and as you wrap the string round, the string gets wider and wider and the knob comes off in sympathy. I don't want to really force it off, but there are quick techniques to do just that. So I'm going to be careful because I don't want to damage anything. No, I'm not happy. That's fine. So we've still got this one. We'll just try it the other way because it's just possible that it's stubbing in that direction. I do not want to mar the finish of anything. Yeah, that's come off that way. So what I'm hoping to do here is to remove the escutcheon from the front. That might be possible, but I think by the time this has been through the dishwasher, the glue may be happier to give, because I also want to respray the bezel. So that's going to be interesting with it having, I've got to somehow mask off the plastic bit, which shouldn't be difficult, to be able to spray the bezel successfully. Somebody's had a bit of black on there at some point. I wonder if somebody's original case has been sprayed black, and then they've taken this off possibly a scrap AM set. So we'll put those to one side. So, I mean, years ago I wouldn't have even paid a £5 for one in this state, but you know, times have changed. I wanted to do this demonstration. Now that doesn't look like it's ever been unsoldered since new. So you know what, this might be a really, really good set. It's just had a bit of a cosmetic nightmare. Well, seeing as we've got a couple of inches of wire left, I may as well connect up to those. So we'll refurb this later. I'll get Mr. Chippie to refurb this. Put a fuse holder on it and all that. Still a bit of black wire poking out of there. So we'll connect it up to the test set. I'll just switch another camera on. We haven't got all the cameras on in here at the moment. So we've also got a HMV Stereomaster 2419 which has come in, which bizarrely at some time in its life has had the left hand channel speakers taken out, both the tweeter and the woofer, and the kind of left hand side of the radiogram has been converted into a trinket box, and the woodwork is to the highest standard. But why would you turn that into that and be left with the right hand channel when it's the left hand channel that is in fact your main channel, not the right hand channel? I just find the whole thing utterly bizarre. Anyway, we'll be getting on with that, but not inconveniencing the organ work which is taking place. Most of the time is being spent on that. It's 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. So let's switch on this radio. And we'll switch picture in picture on. Yes, it's appeared. And we'll plug in the Altai mic. The radio has powered up and is saying channel 10. So let's turn that into channel 20, so we're in the middle of the band. RF gain to full, squelch to minimum, and I've forgotten what those switches are, so let's just look. We want it on filter out, CB and DX. So having put the 3 switches from the wrong position to the right position, right, Midland 3001. Let's go into transmit. Well, that's interesting, my power's gone off. Now it's come back. I'll just plug the extension speaker in which goes into the test equipment, because well, that's clearly working. So it's not going into transmit. Just in case it's the mic, I know it's going off receive, but that could just be another reason. I think we'll do it with our standard wired Cybernet mic at this point. It's this power connector which is dodgy. Oh, now we have transmit, so it's the mic that was not doing that. It was taking out a receive but not putting it into transmit. So, what have we got? We'll go on to the low scale. So we've got mic faulty. It just probably wants the mic rewiring. So TX, we've got 2.5 watts, and let's see how on frequency it is. I'll take this with a pinch of salt because the test set's only been on for 10 minutes. 27,79054. I will just do that now, but I'll need to adjust it again later. Someone did ask me why I had to do it twice on a particular set, and if the test set's only just come on, it's not going to have any accuracy for half an hour. But it just means I can check the receiver with the proper frequency instead of making up a frequency. No, that's as high as it's going to go. That's okay, and it might be the test set anyway. The reference crystals in these type of laboratory instruments, they're in a heated, they call it an oven, a crystal oven. So until they hit the temperature they're made to do, the thing's not going to be on frequency. And this goes for all these laboratory type of test equipment. It's not because this one's a 1983 one. It would be the same if you had a brand new one. That's how it is. If you want less accuracy, you can have a quicker switch on. So that is that. Let's look at deviation. Let's go back to the main meter. Wallow, you know, it's about spot on. It's 2 kilohertz. So we actually just need to pop that up a fraction. So actually this looks unmolested because it's not been tweaked up, which it usually ends up with it being tweaked down, but the meter reading more. I can hear the receive. We haven't set the receive on the signal generator yet, so it's not going to be quite where it should be. So I'll just put that onto frequency. I seriously don't think this has ever been fiddled with from what I can see. It's had a different case. The case has been sprayed black. I can see this, and then it's been hurriedly put back together with a different case on it. I will just make sure it says Midland 3001 on the back and not something bizarre. So RX. Let's look at our synod meter. If it stays about still, I think we're about there. that is 0.95 microvolts for 12 dB cyanide. So, I mean, at least it's better than 1, but hopefully it'll get better than that. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. This is tolerance, manufacturing tolerance. You know, you could have 5 motor cars, all the same, and they're going to do different fuel economy and do different acceleration and different top speed for those people who were into top speed. I once inadvertently drove a car at about 73, you know. Right. When I did my organ building apprenticeship, Mr. Groves, my boss, he used to drive like an absolute plonker. And he'd been a racing cyclist before the war. In fact, he'd got his bicycle wheels stuck in the tram lines, or was it trolleybus lines, whatever they were, down Carlton Road in Nottingham. And he'd end up waking up in hospital. And he was in hospital for about 12 weeks. And he said the most upsetting thing about that experience is the war had just started. He was on the rally cycling team. He'd just been issued for the very first time with proper cycling outfit. You know, the proper top and the proper shorts. Until that, he'd just kind of done it in casual clothes. So for the very first time, he'd been issued with all this kit. And they'd cut all this cycling gear off him when he got to hospital, and that's what hurt him the most, not the 12 weeks in hospital. So there's another silly little story. But he used to drive around like an absolute wally, and he never learnt to drive because he'd had a car since before the war, and because of that, you didn't need to take a driving test in those days. You went to the garage, you bought a car, and the bloke at the garage says, well, you press this and you turn that, and there you are. And of course, this is, I think it was 1937 they introduced driving tests in this country, because the road death rate was absolutely sky high. Probably worse then than it is now, you know, because people just didn't know what to do. So, he still can't, although he knew the speed limit was 70, he still had in his mind that de-restricted meant de-restricted. Now, when you see a de-restricted sign, it means national speed limit applies, doesn't it? But no, I remember him having an Opel Monza GSE 3 litre. This was 1984. And I remember, there weren't seatbelts in the back in those days. I remember sliding round the back seat, and it had digital instrumentation, and I saw it dropping to 158 miles an hour on the M62. We used to spend part of the working day hiding from police cars, and that cured me ever of wanting to break speed limits. Having said that, I've had 3 lots of speeding fines in my 40 years of driving, and each one has been for 34 in a 30. How sad is that? So, this is an unmolested set. Fantastic. I'm not going to say it's low hours. The meter's got some wear on it. You can't see the lower scale. So, I mean, it may have been installed in a vehicle, of course, for donkey's years. But it doesn't look to have got high mileage. It doesn't smell of nicotine. And it's not full of dust despite its age. So, I don't know whether the front belongs this or whether it's just the back. I'm going to switch it off. We'll just take the power off and I'll just look at the back label. I'm not going to do anything further to this today, and we'll join the video when we're doing something with the case. So Midland 77003, which is the 3001. It's proper UK model, February 1982. So there you go. Absolutely bizarre. And I say the person selling it advertised it as spare parts and boards for television sets. So I think 20 quid was fair considering. So I'm going to put these through the dishwasher and we'll catch up with you later. I don't know how far I'll be in with the case, but I'm not going to. I don't know if I'm going to show you that stage by stage. I don't know. We'll see as the video progresses. So, having got the front out of the dishwasher, I think we should have loosened the glue enough to get this out without damaging it. Well, we hope so anyway. There's some corner damage on this, but these things don't worry me. And I'm not going to fill it in with filler. I could do. And what I was hoping is to have pushed enough out, but no. We'll start with doing this case, I think. So I think that's the most suitable body filler for this, and I've got another one, but I had to go and buy another because could I find this previous one? Of course I couldn't. So we just need to mix this. I'm going to, you shouldn't have to need to do this, but I'm going to use some mesh on the inside so that it doesn't push out as readily. So I did get some mesh. And we will do this as well. To be honest, I'm just going to cut this through the packet. So I have 4 pieces, about 1 inch square. Theoretically, you shouldn't need to put mesh in with holes under 1 inch. Put that to one side. So the idea is to put the mesh on the inside so that the filler bonds into that. I've got a piece of acetate that's got damaged here, so I think we'll mix this stuff on this piece of damaged acetate. Oh, I can stink this stuff already. Should have done it outside. So that's about the right ratio. Kind of 9 centimeters to 1. Should have got myself a nice lolly stick, shouldn't I, to do this? Somehow I was expecting there to be a stir in the kit. One moment while I get something suitable. Okay, I'll use a plastic cutlery item. So I'll just look at the instructions. I'm just wondering how long this takes. 30 minutes. So hopefully we'll get this done in the not too distant future. I'd hate to get another organ video out, which is about Well, it's due to go out tomorrow, before I've done another CB video. Right. You know what, I'm going to have to get some gloves, aren't I, for this, because normally I just poke it in from the top, but I'm going to have to hold it. Okay, so that's taken it as far as I want to. I've got limited time, you may not have. This has to be, there's only 20 minutes can be allocated to this whole paint job today. And I want to get the video out, so you can probably get a better result. Now there are some dents in the top of this case, and they've now been filled with the filler. I'm using methylated spirits to clean that dust off. So we've actually filled that quite nicely, thank you very much. I'm using methylated spirits. Other countries might do other things. I could have used the isopropyl alcohol, but that's more expensive. Now I'm just going to put an undercoat on under the circumstances. Seeing as we've rubbed it down to the metal in some places. Still got the mesh on the other side. I'm going to be putting a piece of cardboard in there so that those don't ever fall off and into the works of the radio. So of course I would say if you don't have to use mesh, don't. But it's at the sanding stage where I've found in the past there's been the odd occasion where the filler can fall out without that protection from the mesh. So I think that's now clean enough to go and get a paint primer. So we're going to use the High Coat Grey Primer. Do both these at the same time. I think we'll just do the edges first. Keeping the can moving all the time and not putting a huge coat on. That'll do. That'll be our first one. So when that dries, we'll go for a second time, probably even a third time with the grey primer, and then we're going to rub it down with a piece of ordinary paper rather than a fine grade sandpaper. I find it just doesn't go fine enough, so we use an ordinary piece of A4 paper, which I find is abrasive enough. Okay, that's the first coat. I think that's probably dry enough. Half an hour later, just going to rub it over with this piece of paper. I could even probably find a cork sanding block. It's a speed thing, this. And I think that is as rough as you want to be going. I'm just going to run over it now with the kitchen paper. Now we'll do a second coat. We'll repeat that, and then we'll go over to the colour, which is for Midland RAL 7031. RAL 7031. Now, I've got the bezel here, and while we're at it, we'll just go over this. And this time, the right colour isn't that one, it's this one. Another High Coat product. And this time it is aluminium coat. So I've already been shaking this. Taking the escutcheon off, it's quite a swine on these, I hope I can get it back on. But we'll give it a go, because this has had black paint overspray and it's all gone in the bit in between the inlay, the escutcheon, and this outer bit. So just see whether we can do something about it. So we'll leave that at that and we'll come back to both those. Okay, so once again I've rubbed down with a piece of paper and you can see the dirt on that. Well, I won't say dirt, it's what I've removed, isn't it? So I may as well just do this front. Carefully move those out of the way. I have to spray the front because it needs to go into that groove. I think that's as much as we need to do. Right, so we'll now move on to this colour coat. Again, I've been shaking this. That's our first Midland colour coat. Right, we'll just put the last coat of paint on these lids. I'm not even sure they need one, but we will. Right, we'll put the set back together and shove it on the air. Right, we'll use it trader service sheet like we did for the Midland 2001 that came in last week. So, is picture in picture on? No, it is now. I don't really need to check the VCO, but I suppose I could do. We've done it so many times that you should all be able to look at the back catalogue. So, channel 40. And the test point, which is resist 158, resist 160. If only I could find a board layout. I think it's that one, but I just need to verify, to be honest. Some of these don't have all the components in that form that test point, but I think this one does. So what we got there, just make sure I'm in the right kind of place, because it may be that you're supposed to do this from underneath, which I think you are, but we might just get away with it this side. So that's channel 40. And that's channel 1. So yeah, it looks like we're getting the right kind of reading. So what it says is on channel 40, set to transmit. And we should have 2.5 voltage, 2.5 volts, and that's plus or minus, you know, 0.1, something like that. Well, that's absolutely fine, because otherwise we're adjusting the core. And it's never been touched. This isn't a messed with set. And then we're supposed to go to receive on channel 1 and check that it is around about 2. And it is round about 2. So I could be more meticulous on that if there was a fault, but there isn't a fault. But you know the kind of sets that have been messed with something chronic. Now remember to put it back to channel 20. It's not as easy with the knob missing. And we'll be going through, I will just check with what the service sheet says. It's 106, 107, so we're not touching that, so it's 107, 9 and 8, 7, 9, 8 for maximum, and then it's L110, which is that one. And then if it's more than 4 watts, you're supposed to drop it with 115 to 3.8 watts. Well, we'll be doing 4 watts. So we're going to transmit, and we've got 2.5 watts. So we'll change scales. So, sorry, not 2.5 watts, it's 3 watts, isn't it? I didn't expect that. It's got some wax in that coil. While the soldering iron warms up to melt the wax, I'll do the next one. That was at peak. That wasn't at peak, so we're now at 3.1. And as you should all know, the power drops a bit as the set heats up. So that's about 3.2. Let's go back to that one, make sure it's now still peak. Just tidy that wax back up. Go over to 110. And that's at maximum. Now, have they said not to touch that one? So that's 111. No, we're adjusting 111. Now 3.8 watts, and then finally the other one, actually do 4.5 this set. So there we are at 4. But it does differ from sample to sample. You know, the next one you come to, you're struggling to get 3.6. But remember, I'm using this commercial test set, and by comparison to something made for Citizens Band Radio, this is a bit tight. I've joked about the Zetagi meters. You know, what this it will be. It was probably 7 watts on the Zetagi meter. So that's transmit. So we're going to look at what it says on the meter. These do cause confusion. it says 5. The red scale's pretty worn from daylight, so I want that to read 4, but it means not a lot. Is it that one down there, 103? Yeah. So that now reads 4 on the meter. So I'm just going to take this out as part of the demonstration. I'm going to take it off the test set and put it on the aerial, because it will differ. It's only at all accurate when presented with a dummy load. So most of the sets made since 2000 have fake meters. They're programmed to just give so many bars, whether you're doing 1 watt or 4 watts. So now look, it's now on the aerial, and it's now saying nearer 5. So let's change channel, because the SWR will now be different. It now says just over 5, and now we're on channel 40, and it says 3. Now we're going to go back to the test set. So let's be clear, it was set to 4 on channel 20, but on the aerial it showed nearer 5, and then 3 on channel 40. So we're back on the test set, and it may be different between the channels. So let's see what we've got. There's our 5 watt point. We're now on channel 40. It's doing 3.9 watts. Let's go to channel 1. It's doing 4.05 watts. And then back to channel 20. It's doing spot on the 4 watts. So it just goes to show, you know, it's just relative to SWR. Take little notice, just get used to where it reads, and then if you've got something happen to your aerial, you'll know that something has happened to your aerial. So if it just moves, doesn't mean the radio is only giving out 100 milliwatts. It's just relative to SWR. And conversely, if it swings across and hits the end stop, it still doesn't mean it's doing any more than 4 watts to whatever it was set to. So it's why I don't really care about sets that don't have meters, like the LCL Economy. It suits me down to the ground, and I'm from a business radio background where radios do not have meters. So, having got that off my chest, let's look at this deviation, which was about where it came out of the factory, so it's a little bit low. So we'll just pop that up a fraction. One, two, wallow. That's it. So it was 2, it's now 2.2. So on my list of things, there's still a pen on here, which there is. So that now 4 watts. That is now 2.2 to 2.5 where it should be. Kilohertz. Doesn't have low power. That was a bit of a... They made these just before the final specification for MPT 1320 came out, and they could have had to retrofit low power switches if customers had asked for that. I don't know how many did, or is that what sent Plustronics bankrupt? So I've also had a comment, the TX light doesn't work on my Midland 3001. Well, there isn't a TX light. If you can look, there would be for the same display board for the 4001. So it's got a space for a TX light, it's got space for an antenna warning indicator and the other parts. So it doesn't have it, and it's funny because the Midland 2001, the bottom of the range, has a TX light. The 4001 has a TX light, but not the 3001. So you are relying on that meter to prove there's actually something going out if that bothered you. Right, we'll move over to receive, and it wasn't doing badly when I did the check yesterday. So we'll go over to the oscilloscope first. I'm going to put an S9 equivalent signal on the test set of 100 microvolts. Take the bench light off so people can actually see that we're going to adjust the duster coil. That's what I nearly said then. Not sure where the correct tool is for this. So we're looking for maximum recovered audio. Yeah, we gained a bit there, and on these I can turn the volume down a bit now for those people with headphones. These radios, everything using this Maxon chassis, is a bit susceptible to that going out of tune. So we've now got that. I'll switch the oscilloscope off, we'll save some electricity, and we'll now go to the synad meter. We'll drop that to about 4 dB, so we've got no saturation of the FM receiver, because FM receivers have a capture effect. We can drop that volume a bit more. So basically we're just going through transformer. It's going to tell us 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 5, 6, 7. Now then, sometimes they're not all fitted, and in this case they're not all fitted. We haven't got 9 on this particular version. So let's see if we get any improvement, because it was acceptable as it was, but it would be nice if it was a little bit better. Wow, that's a huge improvement. Might be able to go down a scale. No, not quite. So once again we've backed off the signal generator. We've gained some on that coil as well. Let's see this one. So it's funny, those two are spot on, and these two miles out. I reckon that's it. So let's see what we get now. So before we had 0.95 microvolts. So let me set now 0.95 onto the machine. So that's now giving us more than 20 dB synad. So let's see where 12 is now. So it's now 0.52 microvolts. 0.52 microvolts. So see what we get for 10. It's about there. It's 0.49 microvolts for 10 dB. And for 20 it's 0.95. Well, they weren't enjoying as good a performance as it was capable of having. It didn't look like it's being messed with, but there you are. So, S-meter. For what it's worth, we put a signal on the signal generator of 100 microvolts, which is for a CB radio in the UK, should be S9. And you know what, it's about spot on. We can adjust it on this. You can't adjust it on all Maxcom chassis, but on this one, sometimes there's a preset on the meter. On this one, we've actually got the preset there. So the very slight movement there brings it up to S9. So now we're going to check the squelch. So what I'm going to do here is put the squelch to full on the radio. We'll take, no, we won't take picture in picture off, we'll switch it over to the attenuator of the test set. So we're going to advance the signal generator until the squelch opens, and I'm wanting it to open at 100 microvolts. So 1, 3, 10, 30, 100. It doesn't, does it? 300, and we're going on and on and on. It actually opens at 10 millivolts, which is far too strong. So we're going to back that off. There's the preset. And that's exactly where we want it. It's coming in now. 3, 10, 30, 100. That's exactly where I want it. Take the tool out, check I haven't disturbed it. 100 is where it is. Now we're going to check the maximum sensitivity. So I'm going to park the signal generator at 0.3 of a microvolt and switch it to standby. So now when I turn the squelch down, we'll just get the background noise, and I'll be able to set threshold on the radio. There we go, threshold set. Switch the signal generator back on. Remember, it's 0.3 of a microvolt. So it's just popped on for a second and then shut down because it ramps down. So we'll now go to the 1 microvolt setting and the things come in. So with the fine attenuator, see where it's going. At 0.41, 0.42 microvolts. Right. 0.42 is coming in, and it's leaving it 0.39. So that's a nice sensitive squelch. So where we are, we're done. So next thing we're going to do is we'll be going back to the Tango Towers chapel, where we're using one of the work tables for the organ to just spray this case. Right, well here's kind of take 2 of it was going to be quite a long video anyway, and it's now going to be a bit shorter. I was putting the radio together on camera. So if you remember, we've resprayed the case, done the holes in the top. I'd sorted the mic out, which was the plug. I'd ended up putting a new plug on it. One of the wires had snapped and it needed redressing, etc, etc. So if you remember, it came with an Altai standard replacement microphone, which is absolutely fine. So whoops, that's the dodgy power lead, which Mr. Chippie will sort out later. If I can actually get the crocodile clip on it. So there we are, that's done. And what we're going to do is just flick around the channels. What else was I saying? Well, of course I had to get the right screws, didn't I? And oh yes, the speaker. So we've fitted Monocore SP3RDP. Their number for that is 10.0530. The speaker that it came with was open circuit. So that's gone in. So what we've done is to put in M3 screws. We've put some oversized washers and then some correct size washers, and we've trapped the speaker in those washers because we just don't have the fittings which the radio would have originally had. So I really do suspect that this has had a black case on it, and someone's just taken a case off an old scrap AM set and shoved that on. But at least we've now got the right screws in the sides, and it looks reasonable. And it looks reasonable without the holes, and the front bezel is now silver once again, and not with black bits. So we'll just flick round the channels, if the radio will stay on long enough. It's 12 noon on Saturday, and I've got to go and do a wedding. Well, not a Roger. Once he gets new pins in that power lead, it'll be alright. Tango 21, Andy, do you copy? One of my radio ham friends says he monitors 37. It is about 12 miles away. One down to Roger. Now when I did the first take on this, there were people chatting on 19. I did that at 7:30 in the morning, and now there aren't, so that's absolutely typical. So we're doing on the air test later on, and it's working very well. So there we are, Midland 3001 from 1982. Right, okay. As I was saying, thank you for watching 1982 Midland 3001 UK FM radio.